It's a Grey Cup rematch, perhaps a Grey Cup preview. It was supposed to feature the two players we expected to be 1 and 2 in the running for the most outstanding player in the Canadian Football League, quarterbacks Zach Collaros of Winnipeg and Chad Kelly of Toronto. But Kelly sits, Cameron Dukes, his backup, will start. Farhan, was this the right decision by the Toronto Argonauts?
Yeah, Dave, absolutely. I think it is. And when you look at the risk possibility as far as injury is concerned, this is that game. Because if you're Chad Kelly and you're Ryan Dinwiddie, do you want your star quarterback facing Jackson Jeffcoat and Willie Jefferson and Adam Bighill and these guys on the other side in a game that for the most part is a little bit meaningless for them given the fact that they've clinched? And when you look at who they're going to play after this, they've got Edmonton, they've got Ottawa twice, they've got Saskatchewan. That's hardly a murderer's row at that point. So if you're going to risk injury, this is the one game. And even if Kelly were to play, you probably don't put a lot on film in terms of scheme and how you might potentially handle Winnipeg's defense down the stretch. So that doesn't necessarily put your personnel in the best possibility to succeed. So I think if you're going to sit him down, this makes a lot of sense to do it here.
I don't love this decision. Look, if you're going to risk injury, how about doing it at the end of September when your next meaningful game isn't still 6 weeks away? I mean, the Argos aren't at risk of losing Chad Kelly to an injury. They're at risk of losing him to a serious injury. That's what it would take to keep him out. And look, Chad Kelly has not played that much football since 2016 when he left Ole Miss. He was exclusively a backup in the NFL. He was a backup last year with the Toronto Argonauts until the very end of the season, the Grey Cup game. And so many of the Argos contests this year have not been competitive in the fourth quarter. I would want to see Chad Kelly getting that experience, having one of those possession for possession games, see him tested by a really good defense and a hostile crowd. I think these are all growing opportunities for Chad Kelly that he's going to miss out on. And look, as a fan, I'm disappointed, and I think I'm representing the fan sentiment on this as well. Sometimes that matters. I always go back to that 2017 season when the New England Patriots were 15-0. They'd secured first place. They had one game left on the schedule. Were they going to try to be the first 16-0 team in history? Even though it didn't matter at all. They dressed their starters. They played the game. I would have liked to see the Argos do the same thing.
Dave, in my opinion, the best of Winnipeg is better than the best of Toronto. When Winnipeg is motivated, they're awfully tough to beat. You go back to earlier this year, BC beats them in Winnipeg. The second time they play, Winnipeg annihilates the Lions. You go to that Saskatchewan game, those back-to-back games, the Riders win a close one, then it's a beatdown the following week in Winnipeg. Now here, you've got Winnipeg losing to Hamilton, then stewing on that going into a bye week. Now they're going to play the team that beat them in the Grey Cup. They're going to be awfully motivated, a lot more motivated than Toronto. And I know the Argos brass would never admit this, but I think there could be some psychological preservation going on here, because if you're going to lose to these guys, you might as well hold something back, and you can lean on that to give you more confidence in a potential Grey Cup rematch.
Yeah, and I think there's also some calendar management here by the Argos. And I'm going to point to Friday, October the 6th. That is a home date next week for the Argos, at which they are celebrating their 150th anniversary. All kinds of special guests going to be there for that one. And I'm thinking they want Chad Kelly playing. So if he was to play this week and next week, they've said they want him sitting out 2 games. That would have him out 2 of the final 3 games of the year. Of course, the Argos having a bye for the first week of the playoffs. I think that they would consider too much downtime at the end of the schedule. So I think this anniversary is probably part of what's gummed up what the game that we all wanted to see. But ultimately, we'll get a look at the Argos' backup quarterbacks, Cameron Dukes and Brian Scott.